Shruti Foundation, Mr. Ramesh Garu, and myself, Mohammad Ghasuddin Akbar, as friends, we have photographed most of the monuments in Hyderabad. This is your Bala Hisar in Golconda, which was built by the Qutub Shahi kings. The Bala Hisar was a place where the king used to make his evenings entertainment when there was a dance being conducted at Taramati Baradari, where she used to perform dance and music. So this is your Bala Hisar and views of Golconda. This is Maheshwaram Gadikota Fort. It was Maheshwaram Fort which was given as a Jagi to Madana and Akana. Madana was the revenue minister from 1674 to 86, and his younger brother Akana was also his helper, and they had this fort temple area. And later on, due to certain misunderstandings and pilferage in the treasury, both the brothers were assassinated by certain conspirators. This is Sheikh Pet Sarai, built again during the Qutub Shahi period. This used to be the first stop for the visitors visiting Golconda. One was at Hayat Nagar, this is at Sheikh Pet, and there was another Sarai where they used to halt before they were allowed to enter the city. The tradesmen used to stay here at the Sarai. This is your Chaumela Palace, the Gaddi of the Nizams. The coronation of the kings from the 2nd to the 7th used to take place here in Chaumela Palace. Chaumela means there were 4 palaces in the same compound, and this is where the Gaddi area used to take place, the coronation, and this is Afzal Mahal, the resting area where they received dignitaries. This is Hillfort Palace, which was originally built by Sir Nizam Jung on the lines of Cambridge University. Later on, he sold this palace to the second prince, and Usman Ali Khan brought it for his son, Mir Mozam Jah. And Prince Mozam Jah and Nilüfer used to stay in Hillfort Palace. Later on, it was taken by the government and leased out to Ritz Hotel. This is Purani Haveli Masrat Mahal, which used to be the residence of Mir Mehboob Ali Khan frequently. Earlier, this was Mir Moment's residence in the city during the Qutub Shahi period. Later on, a lot of buildings were added to it, and it became the permanent residence of Mir Mehboob Ali Khan. This is Hawa Mahal. In fact, this was Mumtaz Yaruddaullah's mansion. A movie was shot here, Hawa Mahal, and since then, this building came to be known as Hawa Mahal. Mumtaz Yaruddollah was the owner of this property. Mehboob Mansion, I have lovely memories of this beautiful palace, which was spread out over a couple of acres. And just beyond this was the private racecourse of the Nizam. Unfortunately, when this was given to the government, this is the present situation of Mehboob Mansion Palace. This is Rashtrapati Nilayam, which was again built by the Nizam and given to the president as a sojourn or a holiday during their summers or winters in Hyderabad. This is Women's College, which was the residency where the resident used to stay here. And this was the area which you see these steps. This was the dance hall, and this was the rear side of your Women's College, now taken over. This was the residency. This was the Darbar Hall, which was also known as Salar Jung Hall. Bagh Palace, which once belonged to Raja Dhanraj Gir. Now the family, Rani Rajkumari Indra Dhanraj Gir, and her brother stays here. This is at Pan Mandi, a beautiful palace. The family is into business, and they have palaces at Ooty, and they have business in Sholapur and Bombay. They have mills. So that is how they are maintaining this beautiful palace as it is today. You see the lovely lawn and the water body. That is the cooling system they had in the older days. And this is their drawing room, which is beautifully done in leather, in woodwork, and gold. This is the Administrative Staff College of India, taken over later. Earlier, this was the palace of the first prince, Azam Jah Bahadur and Dure Shawar. And here, before they purchased by the Nizam, this palace belonged to Hakim Uddaulah. They sold it for 1.25 lakhs to the Nizam, which was presented to the first Prince Azam Jah Bahadur and Princess Dure Shawar. This is your Paiga Palace, which was, there are different sections in this palace. Now Mr. Ubaidur Rahman stays here and he's done a very good job by maintaining this palace, and frequently a lot of entertainment and parties go on here at Paiga Palace. This is Ibrahim Manzil, very well kept, given for wedding, but this section is maintained as a heritage building and also maintained as an office by the owner. And beside this is the section where it is given for weddings. This is your Gosha Mahal Baradari, which has become the Freemasonic Lodge. Earlier, this was the only vernacular lodge in Hyderabad, and later on, other lodges from Andhra and other places joined in. And this was the Gosha Mahal Baradari Masonic Lodge, where Salar Jung III was the premier player in this. Jafar Jung's during this was Yakut Mahal, which was sold, but the cinema hall is still being retained and run. A lot of pictures in Hindi and Telugu are being screened here. This is Hathi Bauli, again at Hayat Nagar, which was built by Hayat Bakshi Begum. This Hathi Bauli was so named because this well, the elephant used to draw water. A huge bucket, which is impossible for any bullock to pull, used to be pulled by elephants. And this is what is the Hathi Bauli remains now. A lot of encroachments have taken over the garden, and we have lost a beautiful palace in Hayat Nagar. Stepwell. This is at Qutub Shahi tombs, the stepwell. Earlier there were rooms where they used to relax and also bathe in the wells, and also there was their so-called dressing room. This is Nizam College. Again, this was earlier Rembold Ki Koti, a Jewish moneylender, later purchased by Sir Bikhalur Lumra. In the main hall, where the principal sits, is a huge gilded frame of Fakhrul Mulk Bahadur. So Fakhrul Mulk Bahadur, he purchased this and added subsequent buildings to it. This is the Darbar Hall, again known as the Salar Jung Hall, presented to Fakhrul Mulk Bahadur by Salar Jung. This is Mahbubia School for the Ordnance Factory. Here Raymond, who was a French mercenary who went over to Tipu Sultan and Hyder Ali from Pondicherry. When he came, when Pondicherry had to lose ground with the Britishers, so he moved to Hyder Ali. From there he moved to Hyderabad, where they used to manufacture cannons. तोप बनाते थे ये तोप खाने में. This is the head office, Mahbubia School. This is Victoria Memorial. Earlier, the Nizam II had planned to make this a residency, but the resident found this area a little far from the city, so it was later converted into an orphanage called the Victoria Memorial Orphanage, and now it has become the Victoria Memorial School. And beside this was the mosque built by Sir Nizam Jung. This is Nizamiya Observatory. This is the twin lens telescopic binoculars which used to see the falkiyat or the stars and the galaxy. And later on they moved to a place outside their city which is much better and a clearer air. Now they have got a telescope which has got a 5 feet diameter telescope, which will give a clarity of the stars they want to view. This is St. George's Grammar School, built in 1834. The land was presented by the Nizam to the Australian missionaries, and later, over a period till about 50, they added the girls' school and the children prep school. Earlier, there was only boys' school because girls were not encouraged for education. St. Thomas's Primary School, Sikandrabad. City College, built by the Nizam for Urdu and Persian education of the boys here in the old city. And the City College is known famously for a team of football players. And this is beautifully kept. Unfortunately, film makers or producers use this building to shoot films, which should be discouraged because this is basically an educational institution. Gandipet and Himayasagar. This is Himayasagar, built by the Nizam to harness water for the people of the Twin Cities. And this was used, Himayasagar and Gandipet were planned by Sir Vishweswaraya, knowing that Hyderabad suffered floods during 1908. So he was asked to give a plan, and accordingly, Gandipet and Himayasagar were planned under the engineer Sir Vishweswaraya. And since then, these two water tanks are the main source of water supply and drinking water to the Twin Cities. Ibrahim Patnam Lake, Quli Qutub Shah had planned this area known as Ibrahim Patnam Cheruvu. And this was a huge lake, and Quli Qutub Shah had himself graded how much water can be stored here, and he has graded the stones accordingly at every foot. So this is Ibrahim Patnam Lake. This is your Sikandrabad clock tower, famously built by the British residents because this was for the people of Sikandrabad cantonment. This was also later known as Alauddin Clock Tower. This is your Sultan Bazar Clock Tower, built by the resident at Sultan Bazar, close to the residency. And unfortunately, the new buildings which have come up, the E-Seva building does not allow tourists to see this beautiful clock tower, and it's very difficult to photograph this because there is no space to move around to take a photograph of this huge clock tower. Popularly known as the Himayat Swimming Bath Clock Tower. This was built by Zafar Jung, a younger brother of Sir Bikharul Umrah. He built this clock tower to commemorate the golden jubilee of Mahbub Ali Khan at Fateh Maidan. This was the Mir Mahbub Chowk clock tower, also popularly known as Murghi Chowk clock tower, built by Sir Asman Jah. And it was so well designed that people used to hear the gong or the clock strike, and they used to follow the different times of the day. This is Raja Rayan's palace, another clock tower, and this is the only surviving clock tower which has clocks in 4 different languages. Inside the palace is in Urdu or Marathi, Hindi or Marathi. On the face side it is in English. Towards Falaknuma it is in Urdu, and towards Charminar it is in Roman English. This is the only surviving clock tower in the city, which is so beautifully maintained. But unfortunately, it's just a question of time how well this clock tower stands. Chaumela Palace, again spread out, which is now given to companies for dinners and wedding hall. This is now being envisaged by the princess to convert this again as Falaknuma Palace into a hotel. Let us hope they will be able to preserve this palace. Abdullah Qutub Shah's tomb. He was the first of the Qutub Shahi rulers in Hyderabad. When they came, when the Bahmani kingdom was divided into five, and he became an independent sovereign ruler of Hyderabad Deccan. This is Raymond, Monsieur Raymond. He was a mercenary from and a tradesman from France who had come down to Pondicherry. When the British took over Pondicherry, the French had to leave, and Raymond had to find employment with Hyder Ali of Mysore. Later on, he found Hyderabad more amicable, so he joined the Nizam and found the ordnance factory at Gun Foundry. These are the Paiga tombs, which are beautifully kept, but unfortunately it needs a little more care and take, because till the gentleman Karimullah was here, he used to take care of the tombs very well. Now they seem to be a little decay, but they should do it up. Mahalakha Bai Chanda. She was a Rajput, also a paramour or beloved of Mir Alam. She was gifted lady who knew dance, swordsmanship, poetry, and on certain occasions, her advice was sought by the ruler, the Nizam, for state matters. She was a very gifted lady. She and her mother are buried here in this tomb, which is again the work property of the Nizam, and the American consulate is also trying to maintain it. But recently I visited this place. It seems to have fallen in neglect again. This beautiful monument, which is known as Nawab of Kalyani. When this tomb was earlier photographed, it had beautiful tile work. There's a mosque inside of the Qutub Shahi period. Inside the gateway was the residence of the Nawab of Kalyani. But unfortunately, as the government does not take proper care of monuments, it is falling to neglect. Except for this marble facade, which is intact, the rest of the tiles which covered the entire area has been lost. This is Maqbara Nawab Roshanuddaulah. It was very well maintained, and this is the facade which is being maintained by the family members. The etching and the plaster work is exquisite, and here is the Rajasthani style of the Chhajja, which is popularly known as the Rajasthani style of work. And the Mughals also appreciated and copied this art.